what'll happen after the WWE brand split? Right now, we're all focused on who the GMs will be, what superstars will be on what show. But with NXT being its own brand now, some consider it to still be developmental, where will superstars go from? If you have two brands now, where will the superstars getting called up go? If a superstar gets called up, does the GM draft them post brand split? Because before, WWE really never had a proper feeder system. Sure, they had OVW. They had other promotions that would kind of lead into them. But ultimately, WWE now has their own brand. They have NXT. So if a superstar, such as, let's just throw out a name here, Bobby Roode, isn't called up to the main roster in a brand split, but stays down in NXT to get that exposure, where does he go? What show is he getting picked up on? Now, not only that with the talent, but after the brand split, is WWE locked into this forever? Are they locked into it for how long? We know how stubborn WWE is with that third hour of Monday Night Raw. And let's be honest, that third hour of Monday Night Raw makes them a lot of money. If they got rid of that third hour of Raw, if WWE went away from broadcast television, you would estimated have to pay $25 a month for the network to make the TV licensing deals obsolete. Would you be willing to pay $25 a month for WWE? No? Okay, well then that third hour of Raw's got to stay. But the question is, they've been so stubborn even with bad ratings, and don't get me wrong, SmackDown probably wouldn't be moving to Tuesday if USA was happy with the way things were going. If USA was sitting there going, you know what, we're good with 2 million, even though that they just had their lowest third show, their lowest show on SmackDown, minus one other one, since they've moved to Sci-Fi, from Sci-Fi to USA. Now, if that's the case, and WWE is going live, and the brand split is to do all this, what happens if the brand split fails? If the brand split drives numbers even lower, would WWE be willing to go away from it? Because right now, the ratings are not catching up. Right after the Money in the Bank briefcase, Raw saw an increase to about 3.4 million viewers. The very next week, the show shot back down to 3 million, which, let's be honest, is not good. Now, I get that TV viewers and viewing habits have changed. Myself, if I'm not watching Raw live, it's usually on DVR. And if I'm watching on DVR, it's usually about an hour late. If I tune in the last couple weeks, I tweet at Tubby Emu. You guys can follow along with my rants or talks or funny tweets about Monday Night Raw. When I'm tweeting, I'm usually live. But if I get behind in the show, I stop tweeting, and I usually start the show about 8. If it starts at 7, I'm about an hour behind. So I fast forward a little bit. Now, when doing that, it makes for a little better viewing experience because you're not sitting through segments you really don't care about. The problem is, lately, there hasn't been many segments that I don't care about. I have really put over Monday Night Raw. It seems like new writers are in place. The show seems, to me, to make a lot more sense. A lot of people are upset about maybe Titus getting a match or the fact that Kane was the one that got the match. And I will admit, I was not a fan of Kane getting that match against Miz. But at least there was some continuity and reason behind it. Kane is the one who brought up the fact that Miz hasn't competed. So the fact that it was Kane coming out to do it makes sense. Now, we all want somebody else to challenge him, but we don't know where they're going to end up on the brand split. So right now, WWE is rushing a lot of title matches. On SmackDown last night, or 2 nights ago, they gave Cesaro an opportunity. He won a Fatal 4-Way, and then Rusev crushed him. But is that bad? Did they bury Cesaro? No. Because announced for Monday Night Raw is Titus O'Neil versus Rusev for the title. Now, this is kind of a big deal because WWE is giving us kind of a reason to watch. Even if we know Titus probably won't win, it's a championship match. There was reason behind it. Somebody qualified and somebody lost. But after the brand split, if those ratings, the shows aren't carrying over because each show has their individual rosters, what happens if one show is mildly unsuccessful? Do all of a sudden do we see a huge trade? Are we going to get trades in the post-WWE brand split era? I did a fantasy draft, and you guys can go check out that fantasy draft in the link in the description. And in that, I used WWE's tool to do it with 73 superstars. Now, my rationale behind it was I wanted Daniel Bryan as the GM of SmackDown, possibly to do some more high-flying, smart, happy wrestling, with some big names that could be there. Seth Rollins, John Cena, etc., Randy Orton. But Raw was pretty stacked with the Club, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. And if you looked at the show, it was about twice as many superstars as Raw. And people said, wow, Tubby, way to stack against the shows. You didn't even include the titles. I wasn't drafting titles. I was drafting superstars. I then would go onto the NXT page and include most of the NXT roster on SmackDown, minus Samoa Joe. I get Samoa Joe would fit probably better on SmackDown, but I wanted the rivalry between Styles and Samoa Joe. I thought it would be cool. But if we're not happy with the way things are going, will the GMs be willing to make a trade? WWE could easily, post-brand split, make it into a legit wrestling competition, a wrestling show, just like the NFL, like NBA. You could have trades. You could have talks. You could kind of build up hype. Imagine a couple months down the road. Let's say after SummerSlam, the brand split's been happening for a month, and some big superstar had a huge loss. Well, the other show has an interest in them, so they start talks. So we wake up that night after the pay-per-view goes, and right before Monday night, you wake up to a story on Bleacher Report of Raw interested in acquiring SmackDown talent Shinsuke Nakamura. Wow. Are you going to pique your interest? Are you going to tune in to see? Are you going to go to WWE's website and to see if they're serious? Now, granted, it's all a work, but in the age of kayfabe, is this the new reality in ways of we don't know what's going to happen? Because I truly believe, and this is kind of random off the cuff, this isn't a script, this isn't pre-planned out. This is something I think could definitely work. If the WWE, and we know they're not going to go away from the third hour Raw, they really can't because of how much money it generates. But if the brand split is not successful, those trades could make an impactful, meaningful, must-see environment. If you really think about it, and I'd be the first one to tell you, I would be super excited for it. Let's say you have Daniel Bryan as the GM of SmackDown, and you have goodwill between the shows. Not a heel GM. In my fantasy draft, I said Shane McMahon or a face of some sort. Whether it's Paul Heyman, whether it's Daniel Bryan, whether it's bringing back some GM, kind of face GMs. No heel GM. Get rid of that. Let the superstars be the ones to carry the show. Let a heel faction run the place that doesn't listen to the GM. Make that your heel presence. Either way, though, GMs that kind of work together and realize a trade. What happens if after the biggest event or right before your biggest match, a GM trades a superstar away because they could get somebody else? Let's say they had John Cena, and John Cena was headed into a title match. Let's say he was going to Clash of Champions, because we know that is a pay-per-view event now for SmackDown. Let's say, or Raw, I don't remember which one, we'll just pretend like I know. Let's say he was headed to a championship match, and this was huge for one company. But Raw is willing to give up two superstars in order to get him. And those waiver wire talks start. The trade talks start. And you seriously wonder, would WWE actually give up, would SmackDown give up John Cena in order to get the Club? Would they give up John Cena to get TMT 61 from NXT? Would they give up John Cena for American Alpha? That is something that could pique interest. That is something that we know kayfabe is dead. We know we're in the reality era. We know wrestling is choreographed, but we still watch because it can tell a story and it can be entertaining. But in this new era, those trades within WWE, that system of not knowing who's going to go where. Let's say they're headed for a big match and then all of a sudden one gets traded away. The Bullet Club is drafted together. The Baylor Club, the Styles Club, whatever you want to call it, gets drafted together. They're working together, but the GM can't take it anymore. And the GM finally goes, all right, AJ, I can't do this anymore. I'm done with you. AJ, you're on SmackDown, and in return, I got a tag team that would feud with the Club. Something like that. There's ultimately so much WWE could do after the brand split, and I've seen a lot of people be negative Nancy's about it. What happens? Could they pull away? Could they stop the brand split? If the ratings are not successful, would they kill off one show? People have said that if SmackDown got bigger ratings than Raw, would Vince McMahon go, we can't have that? If Raw's ratings completely tanked, then maybe, because that third hour Raw pays more than the 2 hours of SmackDown. But I have a lot more hope for the brand split, thinking of creative ideas like this instead of just being a negative person about it. Because let's be honest, it's not my company. It's entertainment. And if I'm a person watching Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night SmackDown, and I start to hear talks of, wow, I want him on SmackDown. And then we lead these huge social media campaigns. And we're like, yes, and even the superstars behind it. And the superstar goes to sign the contract. All right, you're a free agent. Come over to SmackDown. Maybe their contracts last a year. They're that free agent. They get everybody hyped. Everybody thinks Owens is going to go to SmackDown to challenge Sami Zayn for, let's say, he had the World Championship. And as he's going to sign, nah. Heel. Face. Giving the people what they want. That unpredictability. Those are just some of the ideas I have how WWE could do things after the brand split era if the ratings are not good. Do you have any ideas? Let me know in the comment section below what you think WWE could do if it wasn't necessarily successful. What would you do if you were in control? Until next time, it's your boy Tubby Emu.